Awesome. Yep. Thank you, you two. Thank you for being here. So as we get going to our pre-meeting, we've got a couple business things, and then we'll move right into our interviews. So let's go ahead and go to our agenda review. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, councilors. It's good to be with you tonight. Couple things by way of agenda review. Wanted to be sure you were aware of this at your places. This is the final draft, if you will, of the economic impact study that was done on behalf of the question that you have in front of you both tonight and next week in the form of a resolution pertaining to the development potential and the corresponding application to the Business Council for the North Platte development area, which is of course adjacent to the Fort Wyoming Center and the Wyoming Sports Ranch. So we will cite a couple of pieces of that tonight in the report, but that's hot off the press, recently released, if you will, from the University of Wyoming, and really good information in there when you get the opportunity to go through that. And pursuant to that particular process, I wanted to make sure you're aware that tonight is just a public hearing on this topic. Next week, you'll consider the resolution, which authorizes us to move forward with an application if it passes your review next week. So tonight's only the public hearing. Next week is the resolution that is a yes or no for us. Okay. And that is all I have by way of general agenda review.
Does anybody have anything?
Oh, just a question. Is there a way, will we get that electronically too as well, Carter, or I can come by City Hall and pick it up? Fixed.
Mr. Mayor, without a doubt, we'll be sure to get you the electronic version since y'all are remote tonight. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody else have anything for agenda review? Yes, Kyle, or excuse me. Yeah, this is pre-meeting, Kyle. Sorry. A little less formal here.
Thanks, Ray. Yeah, I noticed last week on our work session, I think we were originally slated to get an update on the open container ordinance, and I noticed that we didn't do that, and then I didn't see it again on this agenda, so I didn't know if we were expecting to get one of those at some point in the future, but we just had a question about that.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, Councilor, thank you for that question. Indeed, we do anticipate having a debrief with you with regard to the open container area for the downtown and Yellowstone district. That is coming up in a subsequent work session where we will combine that with the alcohol discussion that we're preparing for as well. So yes, very soon. In fact, I think it might even be October work session.
Thank you.
Awesome. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Anything further, Carter, for the agenda? You're good?
Agenda review? No, sir.
All right. Thank you. So let's move on, talk a little bit about the interview process and materials. Carter, do you want to kind of brief us on that?
Yeah, you betcha, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. As you are aware, we have 6 candidates who you will be visiting with this evening. Council had agreed to a certain set of questions that have been distributed to your candidates. And they have prepared ostensibly a presentation along those lines. Council had also agreed to not have an exchange, if you will, in terms of follow-up questions and those kinds of things. That is certainly up to your discretion if council has changed their mind, if you will, with regard to how you want to proceed tonight. But that's certainly how we anticipated that would happen pursuant to your previous direction. We also anticipate that following the interviews with the candidates, council will go into executive session where you will deliberate what you've been presented and decide upon your candidate of choice. And we anticipate that inauguration, if you will, taking place tonight.
I just have a question. So when we go to executive session, do we relocate to a different place here?
That is correct. And Ms. Tremmel will take you to that spot. We will stay in here.
To a secondary location?
To a undisclosed
Undisclosed secondary location.
Mr. Mayor, just one quick clarification. So after that, that executive session will happen in the regular meeting, right? So we'll be in there, do that, and then come back and go right into the regularly scheduled.
Right at 6 o'clock. Okay. Perfect. Okay, any other questions? Does everybody feel pretty good about that? I guess let me just ask the council, are we still good with not having back and forth with the candidates? We're still good just keeping the questions as they are? Okay. All right. Sounds good. Anything else, Carter?
I don't think so. Thank you.
So, is Mrs. Mulholland here? Hi, Mrs. Mulholland. If we started about 5 minutes early, would that throw you off?
No.
You'd be okay with that?
Sure.
Wonderful. Okay. So if you want to come on down to the podium, please. So what we'll do is I'll just welcome you down and I'll just let you go ahead and start. And you have 5 minutes. So, oh, yes,
We will not be asking questions or anything.
that's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay, so we're just gonna sit and
Sit, listen, take notes, and then.
and the intent of that is to keep things like standardized, just for people, we had this discussion. last time.
Yeah, and that's really to keep it standard across the board and fair, I think, for everyone.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members and staff. Thank you for letting me present. I'm going to kind of go through the questions that you guys gave me. My reason for wanting to serve on City Council was instead of being a spectator or being unhappy with decisions being made, I would like to be more involved in deliberation and decision-making processes. I would like to be more involved in the community and to improve the communication from the council to the public, and I would like to represent my board in this process. My qualifications, as my resume stated, I have a master's degree as a clinical nurse. I am currently a nurse practitioner at Casper Women's Care and have held many positions in the past as a nurse practitioner, an infection control officer for a community hospital, a school nurse, and nursing positions in 3 different states. I have worked with people from varied backgrounds over the past 40 plus years, which makes me old. Effective communication and shared decision making is part of my everyday life. I am currently an active member at Grace Reformed Church. I have also managed my husband's finances when he had his own consulting firm. I have worked with many different hospital and healthcare settings and have been part of the educational staff in these various settings. The ability to communicate complex ideas to medical residents, nursing students has been part of my professional life for many years. As part of the healthcare and teaching staff, I interact with other organizations and community partners daily. I also believe myself to be an effective, no-nonsense communicator. Watching or having watched the City Council on YouTube, which I was not aware that you guys had. I believe that City Council is professional in their deliberations and truly work for the best interest of the community. I believe at times the council makes good decisions, but it is often not communicated well to the community at large. Council deliberations on the homeless population and the allocation of funds to address this social issue is not going to be easy. For that matter, setting the priorities or allocation of funds is also not an easy task. And I believe I could be of service in that area. I believe that my practical approach to problem solving and decision making is one of my greatest assets. I believe that I can bring a voice that represents my community to the council. If selected, I can arrange my patient schedule to accommodate council's regular meetings and have flexibility to arrange my schedule when special meetings arise. And I thank you for the opportunity to address you all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming down. Appreciate your time. Mr. Davis, Daniel Davis. We're a little ahead of schedule. City manager, Shao.
Mr. Mayor, maybe we could move to the next one and hold that spot for Mr. Venus.
Okay.
If that's okay.
That'd be perfect. And I think I did see Mr. Sweeney come on in. Pat, are you okay to go now? Come on down.
Thank you. My name is Pat Sweeney, and I reside at 951 North Kimball Street in North Casper. I would first like to thank Mayor Nell for his service to our community and moving forward on trying to extend the Fifth Cent and the awareness on what that means to this community, and also supporting the new ordinance on bias-motivated crimes for all of our citizens. I'm here to ask for your support for the vacant position for Ward 1. Why do I want to serve? I feel that I can step in for the last 14 months. I love our community as all of you do, and do feel that perhaps some of my qualifications would be of benefit to the community. We worked hard to bring back to life the old Ramada, making it into the Parkway Plaza Hotel and Convention Center, Wyoming's meeting place. We designed and built Old Town Family Fun. Nothing like that in the early 2000s between Billings and Fort Collins. Then we expanded Fort Worth Steakhouse into the old Benham's location, which had been shuttered for a number of years. And lastly, the world famous Wonder Bar. In all, when we sold, we had over 250 employees. I certainly did not accomplish these things by myself or in a vacuum, and appreciate all of our employees, but most of all, my business partner and his wife, Jason and Casey Beck. As to the relevant experience, I feel that all the boards over the years I've been a part of, and the Wyoming Travel Commission first and foremost, taught me that you, on an issue, sell your position, and once you vote on that, win, lose, or draw, you move forward as a board and council, not divisive. I also feel that being in the Wyoming House of Representatives taught me process in government and budgeting and encumbrances for the good of the people, not the distractions. I feel that this would be of value to you in my time if selected. How have I been following your activity? Well, I hope to speak tonight to you in favor of the North Platte River Park Master Plan. I believe that's something that we should focus on and continue with the good work that this council has already moved forward on. I have spoken to you when I feel the need arises, and I don't see that changing. As to my availability to serve, I know I will be traveling over the holidays and will be out of state December 18th to January 5th visiting family back east. However, I think I would be able to be part of this if selected over via Zoom if permissible. I am a registered lobbyist with the state of Wyoming, but if selected, this would be my total and sole concern during that term. I would like to thank you for listening to me and know you have a tough position in front of you. I don't see anyone who is not qualified to be here tonight, and I think all the applicants bring great value to our collective. I know there was a question if you would run for election, and you decided not to ask that. But I will tell you that I too have not decided what my future brings, and would tell you that I am not sure at this time, definitely that I can answer that. Again, thank you for your time, and I believe that I bring a wealth of experience, dedication, and respect for the institution and her employees. Our great city of Casper. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. And then we skipped ahead because we were running a little ahead, so I'll have you come down. So if you're good to go.
Sure. Council members, I appreciate your time and listening to me and hearing me. And my name is Daniel Davis. To address the first question, why I want to serve on the council. First and foremost, I care about Casper. As a resident of Casper for close to 30 years, minus some time in UW, I want to see our community thrive. I want to be a part of that. I'd love to, as I said, I have 3 children. I'd love to see them be able to come back to this town and raise their children, and we'll see Casper continue to grow in the direction it's going, so that we can attract businesses, all types of things. I mean, the projects that have been completed in the past couple of years are great, great community things. So in short, I'd like to bring the tools that I possess to the table to benefit our community. Describe qualifications and how they would benefit Casper. I'm currently the director of pharmacy. I manage budgets, we solve conflicts, try to make positive impacts on patients' lives daily. I have an analytical mind that comes with my job. I'm asked daily and tasked with reviewing drug costs, personnel costs, creating policies and procedures to assure we're in compliance with federal and state regulations and patient outcomes. So I'm used to reviewing long documents put out by the feds that regulate the healthcare industry. That's my job. As of right now, we're dealing with a whole new set of regulations that's going to deal with sterile compounding. I know you guys don't care, but I'm used to reviewing documents with regulations. Number 3, relevant experience. I have over 2 decades of management experience in different settings. I currently direct the pharmacy and therapeutics community at the hospital that I'm employed at, which contains a group of physicians, medical director, physiatrist, hospitalist, neurologist, director of nursing, nurse manager, and director of patient outcomes, where we review data monthly and quarterly to achieve the best outcomes for our patients. I'm also a member of the senior leadership team at the hospital, where I'm active in annual budget planning, human resource actions, marketing, interviewing, and hiring of director level personnel. As far as addressing the issues that, as far as what's going on in town and following that, what the city council's up to. Issues that I'm aware of and been following, as everybody probably has, always will be, is the responsible use of the 1% tax. Camping and parking issue is interesting since we got to make national news with our homeless issue. That was interesting light on our community. The homeless issue, the aquatic center building issues, as a father, family of 3 children, we use the aquatic center. My children, access that facility. It'd be nice if we could get that back open to the community. Metro thing that needs to be funded takes care of, animals that are in our community that end up lost, and also the Ford Wyoming Center, which I got to spend time at this past weekend and enjoy for the state band as my daughters at KW, go KW, we rocked it. So those things I do find important because they're important pillars of our community. They would keep the families going, keep our community live, and thriving. And also, obviously, the fiscal budget. I deal with budgets daily, monthly, quarterly, annually, all the time. As far as time availability, I'm currently available every Tuesday afternoon and evening, just because that's the way my schedule runs. I don't travel for work. Outside of a few family vacations a year, I'm pretty tied to town just because I'm committed with 3 children and 3 schools in Casper. I don't go a lot of places. I'm pretty local. So I have a lot of time, as far as I don't leave too much. So I know that it's important for that time because I want to be able to dedicate that time to represent the citizens of Casper that I'd be representing in the district. So I appreciate your time. Thanks for hearing me out, guys.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Davis. Worth it. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Pacheco. I'm used to that.
Yeah.
Mayor Pacheco, members of the council. For those of you who know me, you might be surprised to see me appearing before you today. Those who know me well have always known that I'm not the first person to raise my hand, particularly for elected office. So why am I here? Well, to quote a personal hero of mine, Fred Rogers, there's that special feeling you get when you get to serve and help other people. And so when it comes to me and the way I've operated my life, that's where I raise my hand, when I find ways and opportunities to help and to serve. Because that's where you find the greatest amount of joy in your life. And so having had the opportunity to raise my family in this community, I felt blessed and feel that need to give back and to serve. I want to be able to provide the depth and breadth of community of living in that neighborhood that my family has received. And I want to continue to grow and expand it as part of this council. I'm grateful for the background that I have that brings me here today. For qualifications, I'm an attorney here in Casper. I have been for almost 20 years. During that time, I've had the opportunity to represent everything from individuals and small property owners in this community, all the way to huge multinational corporations that do business here. I'm uniquely familiar with many of the challenges that the various interests in our community face, because I've advised them on their legal rights and obligations. I've had the opportunity to spend my time in this community with my qualifications, hearing about the tough problems that people face and working daily to find solutions. Because when you approach problems as a zero-sum game, that's when you lose everybody. Because there's always an opportunity to find a better way where everybody has an opportunity to come out ahead. And you do that by starting with the facts, talking to the relevant stakeholders, getting expert advice where appropriate, and then sitting down and setting egos to the side and allowing professional, thoughtful, considered judgment to reason out the possible solutions. I'm hopeful that my background in this very kind of deliberative process could be an asset to the city of Casper, to its citizens, and to this council. I've had the opportunity when I first moved to Casper to start serving on the board of Mercer House, which I did for a couple of years. And during that time, and after I left that board, I've had the opportunity to sit on various other community boards, including at my church and other organizations. But more importantly, I've also found myself in a similar position to the role that Mr. Nelson plays in advising various organizations about similar kind of legal and ethical obligations. So it's a role that I'm familiar with. But more importantly, I have the knowledge and education of what it really means when you enact an ordinance, what it means when you're balancing the rights and responsibilities of the various stakeholders. And it's one in which I take very seriously. I've had the opportunity to follow the actions of this council, both professionally and personally. In addition to some of the other efforts that have been discussed tonight, I think particularly efforts regarding shaping the lobbying efforts of the Wyoming Association of Municipalities to the Wyoming legislature. Streamlining contractor applications and enforcement of violations is a huge issue, especially when homeowners are the ones who suffer the greatest consequences. Property upkeep and enforcement, modification of funding opportunities for various projects such as the North Platte number 2 grant application. All of those play a huge role in our community, in addition to some of the longstanding projects that have been at issue, such as the existence and ongoing efforts to improve access to community health and the facilities that it needs, access to a library and the communication and effectiveness collaboration with the county. Those are all areas in which I have taken an interest and have both personally and professionally spent my time. So the question is then, do I have the time to do this? And the short answer is yes. I find myself for the first time having sent 2 of my kids to college, and now I've got a lot more free time. And so unless there's somebody by the name of your honor that tells me differently, I can be here. Thank you.
Thanks, James.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, back and forth. Ms. Sutherland. Good evening.
Mayor, Hi Council, Mr. City Manager, staff. Lovely to see all of you, and thank you for this interview. My name is Jaila Sutherland. I was born and raised here in Casper. I did take some leave to explore other places and pursue my education, but in 2017, I returned with excitement to start and raise my family here. Currently, I am a program officer working on the prevention of mass violence. And I feel quite lucky to get to do this work while living here in Casper, in a place that I love. To answer your question about why I'm here today, it is for several reasons. I am from here, I live here, and I'm raising my children here. I feel it's my responsibility to be part of and support this community. My work is very global, and I want to know that I can have a positive impact here as well. It is important to me to do work that's tangible and meaningful. So while I tend to think big, I understand and try to commit to considering what that means locally. In fact, my work right now is focused on cities and peace. And I know that peace and prosperity begin at home and go hand in hand. I want to help our city move forward while holding on to values of opportunity and equality that are inherent in our identity. From my perspective, there are both wonderful and concerning trends in Casper. We've witnessed progress and increased support for our LGBTQ community, for example, and yet I'm also deeply concerned about growing divisiveness, often from forces that don't have our common interest in mind, especially coming into the next election year. Ultimately, I have a deep faith in our city and its prosperous future. We are strong and we can stick together, and we need good leadership that is committed to the whole as part of that. Lastly, one of the tremendous benefits of serving on council previously was the opportunity to work with our incredible city staff. I continue to be so reassured that we are in such capable hands, and I'm proud and honored to be from here and to have the opportunity to serve and potentially work with all of you once more. You've asked about my qualifications. I think in leadership, we need diverse perspectives, and my professional experience is certainly that, especially given my current focus on cities. But also I'm qualified given my history as a Casper resident and the skills I bring as a mother, especially given the care and concern I have for my children and their future, as well as the other young residents of our city. I would also bring heart and mind to this position. I am a very heartfelt person, and I don't shy away from bringing care to decision-making. I think we need that in governance. I am also deeply curious, and I'm a critical and strategic thinker. I know what it means to take in and understand complex issues at different governance levels and develop solutions that take into consideration those who will be impacted, including those whose voices are often left unrepresented in policy discussions. My relevant experience is that I've previously served on city council and liaised with several boards during that time, including the Water Board and Amoco Joint Powers Board. I also manage complex and large budgets at work, and am well accustomed to partnership and dialogue to get things done. Of course, there are many current and ongoing issues the City Council faces. Most of my updates I receive from our enhanced communication capacity at the city, but also through local journalism. There is much to celebrate in our city. For example, I'm excited about the opportunities that are growing for youth sports and recreation. But it is also clear that we are currently facing challenges with our unhoused population, and we need to find humane and sustainable solutions that help reduce this challenge over time. This is connected to the national opioid settlement money that has come into the state, the county, and the city from the pharmaceutical companies. We should think proactively about how to use those funds to serve communities that fall into gaps in the system. Thirdly, I know it's hard that you as council have to take the time to fill this seat again. And I think it's an important issue to move past drama and disruption and move toward focused local government that serves. Ongoing, I think we need to retain our responsible budget management and continue to ensure that our core services have the support they need, while also continuing to develop a Casper that matches the needs of our working families. A permanent 5th cent would be a tremendous help for a sustainable budget. I will close by saying that I thoroughly understand and am committed to serving the time and job requirements of this position, including the associated board meetings throughout the month. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Sutherland. Mr. Huber.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. First off, I want to start out by saying, wow, you guys got a tough job here. When I looked at the array of people that have applied for this, I got scared. I thought, well, what am I doing in this mess? And as difficult as I think your job is in choosing who is the best person to step in and fill this spot, I think my job of trying to explain to you why I am the best person to do that, maybe even a little bit harder. I don't know. I hope you can sympathize with me on that. What I can tell you is that I was born here in Casper. I don't want to say I've lived here all my life because I hope I've got another 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years, and that might scare Councilman Kathy quite a bit. But that perspective, coupled with the fact that my dad worked for 10 years as the city engineer here, that gave me, and my parents were the kind of people that inculcated in us kids an understanding of what goes on with government, with politics, with all of that kind of thing. I can remember Dad talking about planning, and his concept of planning was not planning for tomorrow, next year, or the next year, but it was planning for 20, 30, 40, 50 years out. When he's who designed and built College Drive. And everybody sat there and said, oh, that's a road that nobody will ever drive on. Then when he designed and built the first segment of what was then called Outer Drive, now it's called Wyoming Boulevard, people just, and he had the concept for the whole of Wyoming Boulevard. And everybody was like, oh, their Casper will never grow that big. We'll never need that kind of thing. Well, we all know how many thousands of cars travel on those things every day. That's the kind of planning that I feel is genetically inculcated and programmed into me. When it comes to dealing like with city departments, I can remember, once again, my dad with the idea that no, you have good people working for you, a good solid city engineer's office, good solid department heads. And then you stand behind them and you stand behind the decisions that they make and we move forward. If they screw up, boy, you hold them to the fire, but you stand behind them and work with them and support them. I can remember when Dad refused to issue the building permit for CY Junior High, and the school board and their contractor came to the city council and the council ordered him to issue that. Well, we all know how that turned out. Same thing with Kelly Walsh, same thing with East Junior High. So I think you got to stand behind your professional staff. When it comes, some of my priorities really truly are public safety, the fire department, the police department. I've worked all of my career with dealing with the cops, and I very intimately understand the workings of the police department and how that works. I've been on the Casper Mountain Fire Department for right at about 50 years. I was the chief division captain, assistant chief for about 25 years. A lot of work with the Casper Fire Department and Corona County Fire Departments, as well as our others. I have an on the ground and an administrative level of understanding with what goes on with those kind of things that I don't think anybody else has. And I think that that's a very important thing and a very important perspective to come to bring to the council. One of the other things that I presume and that you guys have had the opportunity to look at my resume, and I took the liberty of attaching my little campaign handout that I did, which has a much better picture of me. That picture's only about 10 years old now. But anyway, though, now that derailed my train of thought. But through my work as a circuit court judge and the drug court judge, I understand how budgets work. I understand how those things work. And one of the things that I learned was the idea that you do not make up your mind until the case is finally submitted to you. And that means hearing from both sides. I noticed, a real advantage. You won't have to get a little name tag made if you appoint me, because I've still got my name tag. And also there's a scriptural passage that the first will be last and the last will be first. And with all due respect to all of the other applicants, I think that'd be a great idea today. But thank you for your kind attention. I really admire the work that all of you do. I know what the commitment is, and that's the kind of commitment that I'll bring to this.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, so thank you, everyone. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you for starting a smidge early. We do appreciate that. So now council will go ahead and leave here to go deliberate in an executive session. So do I need to call for an executive session? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, just to be clear on the record, so it was noticed as part of the regular meeting.
Super.
At 6. But however, I think that the statute states that you can, for any reason, go into and call an executive session as long as it's a properly noticed meeting. And this certainly was noticed.
Perfect.
And so rather than,
Calling for one.
waiting a half hour to start and then go into an executive session, I think it would be within the purview of council to go ahead and, if you so choose, call for that executive session and go into it right now.
Perfect. Is everybody okay if we move into an executive session?
Do you need a motion?
Do we need a motion?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I need a motion.
I would make that motion.
Okay, I'll second. Second, moved by Councilman Gamrot, seconded by Councilor Kathy.
Discussion.
Yeah, any discussion on it? I see city staff talking.
One thing that I wanted to bring up, and we didn't bother to put it into our questions, but I noticed that some of the applicants mentioned that they would have Tuesday evenings available. Basically, there is a council meeting every Tuesday evening, first, second, third, and fourth. Excuse me. Plus, you will be appointed to 2 to 4 special committees as liaison or members of boards, which will meet at various times throughout the week. So there will be times during the business day that you will be requested to be at other meetings. And I hope everybody understood that. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is we did have one council member that was actually elected and then about 2 months later resigned because he didn't have the time. So I wanted everybody to make sure that they understood that it's more than just Tuesday evenings.
Thanks, Council. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Mayor, just I think to make a clear record, we should probably go ahead and take roll call to ascertain that all councilors are present, and then I think it's your pleasure. And
In the script.
I'm sorry.
In the script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to just do that first part.
So I'll call the meeting to order. Thank you. Got it. Okay. Before we begin this evening, I would like to remind everyone to silence their cell phones. Council meetings are live streamed on the city's YouTube channel. And I'll call the October 17, 2023 regular council meeting to order. Please note that Councilor Pollock and Councilor Bond are joining us virtually. All councilors are present. The chair would entertain a no, excuse me. Sorry, I'm a little off here. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll move into it. Can I have a motion to move into an executive session?
Make that motion.
Moved by Counselor Gamera, seconded by Counselor Kathy. Any discussion on that?
I think we've been here before.
I would make a motion to adjourn into executive session to deliberate a selection to fill Ward 1 vacancy.
That was brilliant. Very nice. Good job.
I will second that motion
Perfect.
to adjourn it. No, I'm not gonna go through it. I'll
Good.
second it.
Good. Any discussion? Okay, all voting aye, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, please record the vote. And we are officially moved into an executive session. We have deliberated on a personnel matters before us in the executive session. And in the executive session, there was a motion and a second to that motion to adjourn the executive session and reconvene our council meeting. Motion passed. I now call the regular meeting of the Casper City Council back to order. The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the minutes of the October 3rd, 2023 regular meeting as published in the Casper Star Tribune on October 17th, 2023.
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Haskins. Any amendments? Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye, say aye.
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 Please record the vote.
Counselors Pollock and Bond and all other counselors voting aye, the motion passes.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the October 17, 2023 bills and claims as audited by City Manager Napier.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Gamera, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye, say aye.
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 Please record the vote.
Counselors Pollock and Bond voting aye and all others voting aye, the motion passes.
Can I skip page 4? Thank you. After a motion to consider the Ward 1 appointment, I would advise the council that the floor will be open for additional comments by council and or motions following our executive session. Our deliberation, after deliberating this matter and considering the applicants for the position for Ward 1 councilor, the chair would entertain a motion to appoint Jaila Sutherland to fill the vacant city council position.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Haskins.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Gamera. Discussion. Go ahead.
Oh, geez. I hate not being able to prepare something, but I feel like somebody should take the opportunity to say something. Just there's a lot of factors that go into this. We discussed a lot of them in the exec. Previous service. This is a short tenure, only 14 months. And for me personally, it took at least probably 2 years before I felt like I knew what I was doing. And so previous experience in any various kind of relevant arenas is definitely an important factor because we need somebody that can jump in and just understands the process, understands Robert's rules, and won't be intimidated. I was like deer in the headlights for like my first 6 months. I was petrified of speaking and stuff. So we just need someone that, kind of understands how it works and can jump in. But obviously, just looking for a little bit of stability and just, there's just a lot of factors. And so we try to get it right. And so I guess I would just say I've served with Jai. And so I was a big fan of hers. Her previous service, I had gotten multiple responses from people in the community that were hoping that she would be selected. And so a lot of factors, but I was really, really pleased with all the candidates we got. I thought all of the applications were super strong. So I guess I would just encourage those folks that did apply, if you still are interested, to seek election here in 14 months once a couple of these seats come up, mine included. Would really encourage you to run again because I thought all of our applicants were really strong and just really appreciate y'all throwing your hat in the ring. It's not a light decision, and just thank you. I appreciate it.
Vice Mayor.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who did apply. It does take a lot to even consider serving on something like this. It's, I feel like we did have a lot of qualified applicants. And I wish that we had more than one seat to appoint. There was multitude of applicants that I felt that was very well qualified for this position. So I do appreciate everybody for applying and coming down and putting their name down.
Counselor Kathy.
Again, I wanted to reiterate the comments that both of the other counselors have made, that it takes a lot of courage to step up and put your name out there in light of the public. The one thing we did mention is a resume and a 5-minute interview probably doesn't do justice to anybody. So we wish that we would have had 2 hours to take each one of you individually out to dinner and have a public discussion about your views, your concepts, and all of that. So as was stated, this is a tough decision. We do appreciate everybody's willingness to commit the amount of time this takes and the effort it takes and the courage it takes. So thank you all very much. We do appreciate that.
Counselor Pollock.
Thank you. I won't. I
Nope, can't hear you.
won't restate what's already been said, but I did want to.
No, hold on one second. Having a hard time. Give us 1 second.
Don't you love electronics?
Amber, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh, there we go. Now we can hear you.
Okay, great. The only thing I have to add is, in addition to expressing my personal thanks to everyone who applied as well, just that I felt like this was one of the most qualified candidate pools, sort of across the board that we've seen. And so I really appreciate, I think any one of you would have brought something really valuable to the council and would have been a pleasure to serve with. So thank you for your effort in applying, and yeah, hope to see some of your names on the ballot coming up this next cycle. So we need folks like you to be participating in the process.
Any other discussion? Anybody else? So it was by far one of the more spirited debates that we've had, and I appreciate that. And it's certainly not and I will also admit exactly what Counselor Kathy said, is that 5 minutes and your resume is not enough to understand who an individual is, what their capabilities are, what their gifts are, and what they could do. It was said multiple times. I don't think this was breaching anything from executive session, but everybody was qualified. And it's amazing to see that, and we appreciated that. And I appreciated the conversations that we've had in that executive session to come out here. I want to thank all of those that put their names in. We appreciate you. We appreciate you putting yourself on the line. It's not easy to come up here and stare at us and have to say what you need to do and what you'll believe and all those things. So we appreciate that. And also I encourage you to get involved, to continue to get involved in your community, whether that's through elected office, volunteering, and doing all those things to make a difference in your community. So I'm very grateful for that, and grateful for the great conversation we had. So any abstentions or nay votes? Okay, all voting aye, say aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote. On behalf of the City Council, I would I congratulate Jaela Sutherland, on their appointment. We welcome you and look forward to working with you in the future. The City Council officially would also like to thank the applicants for their interest in the position, and we encourage you to continue to seek opportunities in public office and involvement in the community. Thank you so very much. Incoming Councilor Sutherland, would you please come forward to be sworn in? Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I state your name.
I do solemnly swear that I, Jai Ayla Sutherland,
Will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
will support, obey, and defend the constitutions of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming.
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
That I have not knowingly violated any laws related to my election or appointment,
that I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election or appointment,
or caused to be done by others, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
done by others, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do that afterwards. Okay.
Okay.
Yours.
Get rid of that. Thanks.
At this time, I'd like to give Counselor Sutherland a few minutes. If you have any comments you'd like to make.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, council, for your faith in me again. I'm really happy to be here. I wholeheartedly agree that everyone who applied for this position was wonderful, and I feel like there was some consensus among us that any choice you made would have been a good choice. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'm glad to be among great peers. So thank you for that. I'm really glad that I get to sit here. My children have been asking me all day because they really want to ride in the parade again next year. We got major hits. So this is like, mom, like now I'm gonna have some like something to hold on to for the days they're not so happy with me. But yeah, I'm just really thrilled to be here, and I learned so much last time, and really mean everything that I said about the opportunity to work with all of you and with our staff. And I just hope that I can continue to contribute meaningfully. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. Welcome. Also, please let the minutes of the meeting reflect that Counselor Sutherland has now joined our meeting. And moving to our next part of our agenda, I'd like to move to our bright spots in the community and talk about the senior sidewalkers. I would like to introduce Don Hunter, June Hunter, Mark Hopkins, and Sandy Butcher. Gordon Butcher's wife. Don, Mark, and Gordon are members of the city's senior sidewalkers. Senior sidewalkers have been a special city group for over 20 years. They have met every Monday between Memorial Day and Labor Day to pick up litter in Casper on the streets, right-of-ways, the parks, along the pathways, and along greenways. Between 2018 and 2022, this group picked up 2,840 pounds of litter and refuse on their routes. That is almost 1.5 tons. Sometimes they meet at the senior center to start the day with coffee and friendship before going to the cleanup area. Senior Sidewalkers was suspended in 2023. We lost Gordon Butcher on March 11th, and Don Hunter was injured in an accident. They are looking to regroup next year for 2024. And on behalf of the city of Casper, I would like to thank you for your service to our community. Would you please come down? Yeah. Sorry, just come here. Might help in just want to come right over here. Yeah. The vice mayor and I were just talking, and we said we didn't even realize this was something that's happening in our community. And I think this is relevant to the fact of what you guys are doing and how you're helping our community being able to do that. We in the city of Casper want to extend our heartfelt thank you for the commitment that you do, the things that you do for our community. We appreciate that, and we know how how important that is. I don't know if anybody has any comments they'd like to say, and you're more than welcome to.
A lot more people should do it.
And there, just anybody over, they meet over at the senior center?
The way it's worked in recent past is they get mailed a letter on the route and then we meet there. But I would like to start having coffee or some sort of fellowship either before or after as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we can contact the senior center or?
Contact solid waste department
Oh, perfect.
at the special waste. I'm
Perfect.
Kathy Fraser and I've sort of taken the center of my wing.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
Years ago, we used to meet at the senior center and Carter would come visit us with donuts and things like that and serve us some coffee and things like that. And then we leave from there to wherever we were designated to go that way. But later on, years later, City Beautiful got involved in that and was a little bit different. We get a mailing, like you say, of where we would meet and the time we were suggested to get there. And usually we'd get there before she did and had half of it picked up by the time she got there. And then we'd fill up bags and leave them up against a T-bar alongside of the road or something so they wouldn't blow away. And then somebody would come later and pick them up. If not, we would call them and let them know where the location is for the trash to pick up. So it worked well and anyway, we enjoyed the donuts thing.
Well, it was nice. We got us out in the morning and we accomplished something and it looked a lot better. Malcolm said that Casper's been good to us, so it worked well. And I'll say one thing, thank you for stepping in lately and
Thanks, sir. I appreciate it.
also, thank you going. That was very nice.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Well, we want to extend our deep and heartfelt thank you for the work that you guys are doing. We appreciate that. We want to recognize you. So thank you so much. So I do want to give a real quick, if there are people that want to leave, you're more than welcome to. I don't want to feel like people are trapped in here waiting for our meeting, which could take up a couple hours, but just feel free. I just want to make sure that if you needed to go, you can feel free to go ahead and go if you need to. Now is the time that we invite anyone in the audience who wishes to speak with the council to come forward. This portion of the meeting is dedicated to the public to allow them time to voice their concerns. Therefore, council will take communications under advisement, but if they choose to respond, they will do so at a later time. Please state your name. You don't have to state your address. Direct all questions and comments to the mayor. No personal obscenities or threats will be tolerated. Council will not respond to any personnel matters. They will all be directed towards our city manager. If council chooses to address these matters, it will be done during the introduction of measures and proposals by council at the end of the meeting. Presentations are limited to 5 minutes and no time extensions are allowed. Please note that public hearings and ordinances have their own comment period. So if you're here for something, case in point, like the homeless camping ordinance, please wait till then if you want to make a comment, not at this time. And others, just not that one. Those ordinances will be discussed tonight in depth and have a discussion time and comment period. Things like camping, dwelling, parking restrictions, etc. So the floor is whoever would like to come. Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Pryor.
I'm a retired civil engineer. I gave the gentleman down here my bio that tells you what my experience is. Been doing that for basically 50 years. The reason I came here tonight was to talk about the people putting in the fiber optics. There's two pictures that I included. One is on my they're both on my property. It shows how they threw the dirt on my grass without any protection underneath it. Then when they come back, they just rake the bug in and it's still a mess. There isn't anything they can do raking it in, it's going to destroy that section of my grass based on the soil. There needs to be something done by the council in order to control those people. I've done enough work in the city of Casper, if you look at that Bible, to know what should be involved. And that's the reason I came tonight, because I was told I needed to come address you of that problem. I don't know how you're gonna solve it. It seems like they got a free hand to do whatever they want to do, and it shouldn't be. They should be following your rules and regs, just like I had to do when I did water lines in this town. So that's all I wanted to say, unless someone has some questions.
If you want to hold on one second, Mr. Pryor. Well, let's do questions, and I think then I'll address our city manager on this. So go ahead, Councilman Gamron.
Thanks, Mayor. And I hope I'm not being redundant with whatever you were going on, but thanks for coming to speak to us tonight, sir. You're actually the second person I've talked to tonight that was having issues with one of the internet service providers in town and their utilization of the easement to lay fiber. My understanding is that they have an obligation to remediate any issues caused, and so I was hoping city attorney could provide some more, could you enlighten us what mechanism exists for us to hold internet service providers accountable when they are, in the easement doing work and the obligation they have to remediate any issues?
Yeah, Mayor, Councilor Gamroth, this is actually a topic that we met internally on this morning. I believe that these providers either have franchise agreements or some kind of contractual obligation with the city, and there are requirements that they remediate or take care of any damages that they cause. I think what we're seeing is there are fiber optic providers who have subcontractors who then sub it out again, and so we are actively looking at ways to enforce this, looking at potential either policy changes, changes in the franchise agreement language, or potentially coming forward with an ordinance proposal to council to essentially give the city more teeth in enforcing this, and not only more teeth to enforce it, period, but to make sure that it's done in a very timely manner, because some of these damages might happen, and then by the time you chase down the responsible party and actually get them to do something, a lot of time has passed. So this is an issue that I think staff is well aware of. We have some mechanisms in place, but we're actively looking at it to see how we can increase our response time and beef up our options.
Mr. Pryor, did you hear that? Mr. Pryor, did you hear that from our city attorney? So our city attorney said we're trying to find an avenue for us to figure out how between ordinances and things that we can do to be able to bring some remediation and some more teeth to make sure that people that do this to the contractors that are doing this to the lawns have to fix it.
Is the problem won't show up till next spring after it's had a winter setting on it and killed the grass.
Yeah.
And that's where my problem is. So that's basically it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Sir, if you don't mind, one more question. I'm curious if you know who the provider is in your neighborhood doing that, and if you, Visionary is a broadband company that's laying fiber in my neighborhood. And before they started doing work, they put door hangers on everyone's doors with a phone number that said, if there's any issues, call. Did you? No?
Nothing,
Okay.
nothing at my house.
Okay.
I just woke up one morning and saw them doing stuff.
Okay. If you are able to ascertain, because there's a couple different providers laying fiber all around the city, if you're able to ascertain who it is that's working, that was in your easement, they should have some channel kind of up the corporate ladder to air your grievances. And so I would just maybe ask your neighbors or something, if they know who the provider is in your neighborhood, they should have also a mechanism to get some resolution to some of the issues.
Well, their resolution on my house was just to scrape the stuff back in the hole and there isn't any grass there anyway.
Mhm.
And I still got the other one from 6 months or whatever it was a year ago when the other first person came through there. There's a spot there that they dug up, it's still full of sand.
Mm.
And they threw some grass seed on it and said, oh, that's great. There's no follow-up. There's no enforcement of some kind of regulations that have to follow.
Okay.
And you can see from my bio that I've been around the corner a few years.
Hold on, Mr. Pryor. I think there's a couple more council members that want to, counselors that want to talk to you. So, Counselor Haskins.
So I also had an issue in my yard. So I encourage you, even if you've spoken to them once, call them again, especially if they laid seed and did a poor job. I had Blue Peak and they were very quick to fix the problem they created in my yard. So call them again while we work on finding a way to force them. My hope is that they will work with you to try to fix the problem if you contact them. And if you don't know who it is, I promise you, you'll be getting an ad in your mailbox. They're gonna try to sell you their internet.
I'm having a little trouble hearing.
Okay.
That's part of this business here.
Yes, sir. What we'll do, Mr. Pryor, is why don't we can reach out to you. We'll make sure that somebody from our city staff reaches out and gets to you, and so that we have an open line to communicate with you.
That's fine.
Okay.
Just want some action done.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. With that,
Do you want to say something real quick?
I just had a question about it. Was there guidelines that they are supposed to be following in there when you signed the contract for them to start laying fiber? Isn't that already built in there that they're obligated to do that?
Yeah, Mayor, Councilor, yeah, there are certainly city standards that are referenced in the franchise agreements that they execute. It becomes apparently more problematic. The franchise agreement may be with Visionary, but then they've hired a subcontractor that comes from Texas. And so then there's, a lot of finger pointing that potentially goes on. And the thing I would add, just for council's edification, is it's not only the damage to the private landowners, but we're having utilities that are being hit, water lines, sewer lines. And so there is a real interest in making sure that the work is done correctly and for the benefit of the community, and not that we have these basically unmitigated impacts that have to be borne by the citizens of the city. So,
Great. Councilor Kathy.
Mr. Pryor, I would like to thank you for your service in the military.
thank you.
We need to protect our veterans and take care of them, and we thank you for your service.
Yeah, well, I did what everybody else did. I just raised my hand and gave my life to the country.
I was there 69 to 73, so yeah.
That's all I can do. So,
Thank you, sir.
All any of us can do.
yeah, so if you're done with me, I'm gonna walk out the door.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Pryor. Mr. City Manager, could we have maybe somebody touch base and see?
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Okay. Thank you. Any others who wish to address the council? Wait till they get pulled up. Okay. Please read the consent agenda titles.
Establishing November 7th, 2023 as the public hearing date for consideration of 9A1A ordinance approving a zone change of 350 and 410 Southeast Wyoming Boulevard from PUD, planned unit development, to C2, general business. 9A1B, new bar and grill liquor license number 14 for MTV Entertainment Group LLC, doing business as America, located at 119 South Center Street. 9A1C, new bar and grill liquor license number 15 for MTV Entertainment Group LLC, doing business as Rialto, located at 100 East 2nd Street. And 9A1D, new bar and grill liquor license number 16 for Old Town Family Fun LLC, doing business as Old Town Family Fun, located at 307 West East Street.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion by minute action, establish the public hearing dates just read.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Councillor Cathy, seconded by Councillor Gamroth. Any abstentions or nay votes?
I'll be
Councillor Paul.
abstaining. Thank you. I'll abstain from A1, B, C, and D, please.
Any other abstentions? Okay, any nay votes? All right, all voting aye, say aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote.
And Councillor Bond and all other councillors voting aye, the motion passes.
I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of the cities of Casper application for a BRC Community Readiness Grant for the North Platte Park Foundational Infrastructure Project. Mr. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
Thank you, Mayor. I do. Exhibit number 1, correspondence from Tom Brower to J. Carter Napier dated October 12th, 2023. Exhibit number 2, affidavit of publication as published in the Casper Star Tribune dated September 29th, 2023.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report?
I do, Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you very much. As we discussed in pre-meeting, this is your opportunity to take public input with regard to the application that potentially we would be submitting. And that would be pursuant to your passage of a resolution next week that gives us the formal direction to move forward in this process. As you are all aware, we have undertaken 3 bodies of work with respect to the data that we felt and that you directed would be needed in order to appropriately prepare for this application and hopefully get some partnership and funding from the state of Wyoming. Those 3 bodies of work that you authorized us to pursue were, first of all, the master development plan with regard to the subject area, followed by a utility study that we have a proud partnership with respect to Advanced Casper to have made that happen, as well as the economic impact study that the University of Wyoming helped us to put together that you have in front of you this evening. With regard to the results of each of those, we learned a couple really important things. Not the least of which would be the broad direction that the public provided by way of input in the development plan. The utility study indicated that at full build out with regard to the subject area, we would need improvements both in water, sewer, and water storage, as well as stormwater development. At the point of full development in that particular space, we anticipate that the full expense could be as high as $15 million. However, with respect to the timeframe that the development would likely take place, we do believe that we can approach this utility build out in phases. And so you will notice, or you probably have noticed in your memo pertaining to this public hearing, the first approach that we would like to take to the business council would be that of $5 million with regard to a 20% match that can be provided through in-kind services and or cash, making the total project, if you will, in phase 1, a $6 million program. It's my anticipation that that would be funded in terms of the city's obligation, again, through in-kind services that we could provide, and that we would, of course, make sure the business council and the state of Wyoming is comfortable with, as well as cash that could be provided in the form of a loan, or it could be provided in the form of proceeds that we would garner through the sale of property in the subject area. One of the things that I think you should be aware of too is with regard to what it is that the economic development impact indicated through the efforts of the University of Wyoming. They suggested that at full build out, the total economic value with regard to what is we could expect from the subject area, which would be a conglomerate figure, both development value as well as tax value and so on, would be in the neighborhood of $160 million over a 5-year period. And so if indeed we are fortunate enough to get grants both for phase 1 and phase 2 of the utility development, the recommendation of the plan, of the study is that the payback to the county, to the community, to the area in general, with regard to what we can reasonably expect to see in the development area, would far surpass what it is that the city would have by way of obligation and what it is that the state would put forward in terms of what their partnership could include in the form of that value that would come back to the community. So without a doubt, we feel relatively positive about this application. We feel positive as it relates to what it is that we have to tell by way of a case to make in front of the state of Wyoming and potential developers that would possibly have interest in the area. So with that, Mr. Mayor, tonight's purpose is really just to take the public input. We are expecting no action this evening. The action, however, will be brought to you next week in a special meeting in the form of a resolution that, again, if it passes, would give us the green light to make this application for phase 1.
Thank you. Council will now listen to public comment. Public hearing comments are limited to 5 minutes and no duplication of speakers will be allowed. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the city's grant application to please approach the lectern. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. First off, it took you a long time to make a decision tonight. And I can only imagine what went on behind closed doors, but I think you made the absolute best choice.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat.
She gave an excellent, I wish I had a better speech writer. So,
thanks, Pat.
But as to the topic at hand, absolutely, totally in favor. I think this is exactly the direction that the Business Council has now realigned. And just a few weeks ago, at the last SLIB meeting, towards the beginning of the month, I can't remember if it was the 3rd or 4th of October, the city of Mills presented quite a large project outside the rules. The rules were suspended, and that moved forward. And for basically a twofold deal, but I think this is absolutely crucial for the growth of the city. I think it will even enhance more our event center. And what a wonderful blessing. I know a lot of people don't agree, but the amount of business and opportunities that the Casper Event Center, Ford Event Center, has brought in over the years, it's just incomprehensible to me how people can't support that with what the city has had to subsidize it over the years. Great investment in our city. This project, I think, will enhance, even broaden our tourism aspects and business development. So totally in favor. The only word of advice that I would have, and in putting the application together on the loan portion. Don't be afraid to put out there an extremely low interest rate. I believe the last one for the city of Mills was approved, I may be wrong, but at 2%. So I put it out there, all they can do is say no. I will be happy to, in my limited capacity, as a former legislator, I spoke in favor of the city of Mills's project, and would be glad if my voice can add any significance for this project. You know, and hopefully we would be able to get other legislators, such as Steve Harshman, Tom Walters, Jerry Overmuller, Boris Chadwick, who's probably getting censured down in Commerce County tonight. You know, legislators that care about economic development in our state and our community to speak in favor. And Kevin O'Hearn, I'm sure, would be part of that. So with that, I thoroughly encourage council to move forward. So, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Sweeney. We appreciate that. Others who wish to speak in favor? I got fooled. I got fooled. Any others? Okay. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the city's grant application to please approach the lectern. Anybody against? Opposition? There being no others to speak for or against the city's grant application, I now declare the public hearing closed. Please note that City Council will consider a resolution for this item at the October 24th special meeting. Is there any discussion from council on this item tonight? Yeah, Councilor Gamble.
Thank you, Mayor. One question and then one point of clarification. Will this, economic impact presentation be publicly available in our, well, I guess it's in our work packet, right?
It's in your email.
Well, it's in my email, but the public.
Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, this is absolutely brand new in terms of its final draft. So you are the first recipients of this report, but undoubtedly, this is a public document and we can certainly make it available on the website.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. So follow-up point of clarification. It sounds like it will be on a consent resolution vote next week. And so it sounds like if anybody after this has been put in our information packet or our work packet for next week, if they would like the opportunity to speak, I know there was an opportunity tonight, but because it's brand new and we haven't even had the chance to look at it yet, if somebody had strong feelings for or against, they could take advantage of our public comment period at the beginning of our meeting to speak to it, or potentially before a consent vote.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor, I don't think I would recommend putting it on a consent agenda. In fact, it would be an independent motion in my estimation, where council can discuss as well.
Okay.
Which would be unlike a consent type motion where discussion isn't typically a feature. So my recommendation will be that it will not be on a consent item, if you will.
Thank you. So we'll have the opportunity to discuss, and then there'll also be a public comment period for that item as well.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor, the public hearing was tonight.
Okay.
And so technically your public comment was advertised to be this evening with regard to all things related to this application. Now, indeed, if council wants to entertain public comment, I would not recommend the establishment of a formal public hearing like we did this evening. But you can certainly entertain public comment, at least within, that context of the special meeting. So that's entirely up to you.
Are you going to make that? You want to try to?
say that?
No, I don't think I need to, I don't think I need to make a public hearing of it, but I do want to give the public the opportunity, because again, we just got this. Nobody else in the public's had the opportunity to look at it yet. I just want there to be an opportunity to somebody speak to it. And if that's at the beginning of our next regular meeting, if that's an opportunity for them, I just want to make sure there's an opportunity, regardless of where it's at on our agenda, for the public to speak to this after having had the opportunity to read through the report.
Mr. City Manager.
So, Mr. Mayor, Counselor, I think you're making a great point. But the reality is, the study that you have in front of you is not the application. This is just a body of data that we used to, reconcile our interest pertaining to making application. So, there's also the utility study that is a public document as well, but not the subject of a public hearing, because the reality is the only subject of the public hearing is whether or not we should make application. So I just want to make, I hope I'm not sounding too emphatic about what it is that council's supposed to be considering. But the report that you have in front of you tonight is not the subject of the public hearing, and is not the subject of your resolution next week either.
Right.
The only subject of your resolution is whether or not an application should be made to the business council.
Any follow-ups for that?
No, I could reiterate, kind of, I'm following you. Next week will be, next week's a work session. So at our next regular meeting is when we'll vote on we'll have the discussion.
No, we actually plan to have Mr. Mayor and Councilor special meeting as a part of next week's deliberations.
Okay.
So you'll have a work session as well as a special meeting next week. So you'll be doing a little bit of the double duty.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're
totally monopolizing the conversation here. The reason for the special meeting is exclusively to discuss this item, and okay, I'm getting a head nod. Are there certain deadlines or timeframes that we have? I guess I'd be curious to know the reason for the special meeting as opposed to waiting for our next regular meeting.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor, very simply put, we do have a deadline with regard to what it is we need to submit to the business council. And so the timing that you're seeing, while unusual, is very consistent with what the rules of the business council programs are. So we have to have a separately posted public hearing, separate apart from the resolution consideration, ostensibly so you can have time to consider your public input as you weigh the merits of the related resolution. So that timing was deliberate for a number of reasons, not the least of which is we have an application deadline that we need to make, and the completion of the 3 studies that I referenced earlier is where we're at with respect to ultimately our recommendation move forward.
Councilor Kathy, did you have something?
Basically, with it being a resolution, and by not having to go through all of the 3 readings and everything of an ordinance, I would envision that if anybody wants to make a comment, it would be similar to what we do on 2nd and 3rd readings of ordinances. Would that be an appropriate statement?
Mr. Mayor, I certainly think, Councilor, that that's an option council can undertake. Absolutely. But, and to be clear, you're absolutely right. This is not an attempt to create law. This is simply trying to get your formal direction as to moving forward with the application, which is a requirement of the application and the program's rules as well.
Okay. Go ahead.
I apologize if I'm slow this evening and just struggling to keep up. So next week at our special meeting, we will be given council direction to go ahead or not go ahead with putting together the application. Will we have another opportunity in the future to accept the grant and officially move forward with the project?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor, if we are fortunate enough to A, be given the green light next week to pursue the application, and then B, to actually receive $5 million to help put this utility package together, you will have an opportunity, even at that point, to accept or not accept the grant agreement with the state of Wyoming to put that $5 million to use, absolutely. But that would be in the spring, probably, given how that timing of the meetings are working and so on.
Think I got it now. I appreciate you all.
Nope. Good to get it under. Any other discussion? Here we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carter, for that explanation. I
Absolutely,
appreciate it.
my pleasure.
Moving along, please read the ordinance on second reading by title only.
030 of the Casper Municipal Code regarding driving or having control of a vehicle while under the influence of an intoxicating liquor or controlled substance.
Thank you. The chair to entertain a motion to approve on second reading the ordinance just read. Moved by Councilor Gamroth. Seconded by Councilor Jensen. Council will now listen to public comment. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes and no duplication of speakers will be allowed. Anybody want to put a comment on that? Okay, any discussion from council? Any amendments? Any abstentions or nay votes? Looking everywhere, all voting aye, say aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote.
There's Pollock and Bond voting aye, and all other councilors voting aye, the motion passes.
Thank you. Please read the ordinance on second reading by title only.
Amending chapter 9.48 of the Casper Municipal Code.
Third, entertain a motion to approve on second reading the ordinance just read. Moved by Councilor Gamroth.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Mayor. Council will now listen to public comment. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes and no duplication of speakers will be allowed. You want to speak on this? Did you want to speak on it? No, you're good. Okay. Any others? No? Okay. Any discussion from the council? Any amendments? Okay. Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye, say aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote.
Councilors Pollock and Bond voting aye, and all other councilors voting aye, the motion passes.
Thank you. Please read the ordinance on second reading by title only.
Amending section 17.104.170 parking and dwelling use restrictions permit of the Casper Municipal Code.
Thank you. The chair to entertain a motion to approve on second reading the ordinance just read.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Jensen, seconded by Councilor Kathy. Council will now listen to public comment. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes and no duplication of speakers will be allowed. Anybody want to speak to this? Okay. Any discussion from council? Okay. Oh,
Actually, I
yes.
do.
Councilor Haskins.
So I was absent for part of this. Well, I was here, but you couldn't see me for this last discussion on this. I did get clarification from the city attorney because I thought it was very confusing. This is not in regards to parking an RV. This is in regards to living in an RV. So it is completely separate from that permit I have mentioned before that you can park your RV in front of your house from, is it May to November? Whatever, completely different part of ordinances. This is just living in your RV in your driveway. So I just wanted to clarify, it confused the heck out of me. So anyone else, they're separate.
Good point. Thank you. Any other discussion?
Throw me.
Okay. Any amendments? Any abstentions or nay votes? All right. All voting aye, say aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote.
Pollock and Bond voting aye, and all other councilors voting aye, the motion passes.
Please read the consent resolutions by title only.
1, authorizing a contract for professional services with Alsco Incorporated for providing professional laundry services to the Public Services and Support Services Departments. 10A2, approving the Wyoming Department of Transportation Highway Safety Program Grant FFY 2024 sub-award agreement between the Wyoming Department of Transportation Highway Safety Program and the Casper Police Department for the enforcement of seatbelt use to reduce unbelted injuries. 10A3, approving the Wyoming Department of Transportation Highway Safety Program Grant FFY 2024 sub-award agreement between the Wyoming Department of Transportation Highway Safety Program and the Casper Police Department for the enforcement and reduction of impaired driving. 10A4, rescinding and replacing resolution number 23-40, approving a real estate trade agreement between West Center Hospitality LLC, D Center, DCAP LLC, and the city of Casper, Wyoming. 10A5, authorizing amendment number 1 to the professional services contract between the city of Casper and Merge One Incorporated for blade server hardware installation and configuration at City Hall. 10A6, authorizing a nuisance and abatement lien to be executed to recover costs associated with the abatement of junk and litter located at 1027 West 14th Street, Casper, Wyoming, pursuant to chapter 8.36 of the Casper Municipal Code. And 10A7, authorizing a contract for professional services with Global Spectrum LP, doing business as OVG 360 for services to secure advertising, corporate sponsorships, and naming rights for city facilities.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda items just read.
So moved.
Moved by Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilor Jensen. Mr. City Manager, do you have any comments on any of these items?
Mr. Mayor, councilors, just real quickly, we have cause for celebration this evening, not only because we have Councilor Sutherland here joining our ranks, but also because we're finally at the point where you have an agreement with OVG to get that facility naming program underway. And I want to thank Zalima and her team and the folks at OVG for that dedicated work that's taken a very long time to bring us to this point tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks, Zulima. Appreciate your work. Any abstentions or nay votes? Okay. All voting aye, say aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote.
With councilors Pollock and Bond voting aye and all other councilors voting aye, the motion passes.
Okay, this one is like choose your own adventure, those books you used to read when you were a kid, so we need to be mindful of one goes this way, then we got to go this way. So let's work together, folks. All right, here we go. Council will now discuss the minute action item to authorize staff to advocate for the WAM resolutions. This item was previously discussed at our October 3rd regular meeting and was postponed to tonight's meeting. Because this item was removed from the consent agenda, it will be open for discussion by council. Before we begin, I would like to ask our city attorney, Mr. Nelson, to explain the options that are available to the council that we're voting on and the discussions that we're going to have tonight. So I'd like to turn that over to our attorney, Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, councilors. So as you all know, this was initially a consent minute action, was pulled off and then not tabled, but continued to a date certain. So there's no need to remove it from the table. We can go straight to a vote and potential discussion on the resolutions. Now, as you know, that there are, I think, 7 resolutions, and there was been a lot of discussion around one specific resolution regarding a potential real estate transfer tax. So since the time of our last meeting, we had an opportunity to dive into Robert's rules. And because these are packaged, you would need to vote on them as a group, at least at the outset. So if it is the pleasure of council, what I would anticipate is a motion and a second to approve them. If there is desire to remove the real estate transfer tax resolution, we would need a motion to divide the motion. That would need a motion and a second. It's a non-debatable motion, and if it passes, then that specific resolution can be removed and dealt with separately from the remaining 6. So it's not as easy as just saying, you know, I vote aye on 6 of them and then vote nay on 1. We would need to take an extra procedural step to divide the motion, and that has to happen after there's a motion to approve and a second on the floor. So hopefully, I know it's convoluted, but that's, I think, the way we need to proceed. And Mayor, Council, I'd certainly answer any procedural questions that anybody might have.
Yeah, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
So is this open for public comment? Because we've never had public available to comment on any of these prior. and it doesn't seem like you've got it open for public comment.
Yeah, Mayor, Vice Mayor, yeah, this is not a public hearing. Typically it would be on a consent agenda, and since it would be just a minute action, we typically would not have an open period for public comment. It certainly was not advertised that way. I suppose certainly folks could come during the general portion of our meeting where they can comment generally. They could comment on this, but you're correct. There is not that opportunity, nor is that required, I think, by our rules or by statute.
Okay. Any other questions for our attorney? Okay. So I'm gonna make the motion to approve, and then we'll go also into either we'll have a city manager report, and then we're gonna do a discussion, and then that's when we can look into whether we want to divide. Is that fair? Okay, all right. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the minute action agenda item just read.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Gamroth, seconded by Counselor Haskins.
Me.
Yes. Oh, please read the minute action title. My bad, sorry.
Authorizing staff to advocate for the Wyoming Association of Municipalities legislative resolutions for the upcoming Wyoming legislative session.
Thank you. It was moved by Counselor Gamroth, seconded by Counselor Haskins. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think I have anything else to add. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, discussion. So let's talk about this portion of it, and then I think having the conversation, if we want to divide it, kind of how it was explained to us by our city attorney, and if that's something we would like to do, or just keeping it all together. So I guess that's kind of where we're gonna go with this discussion here. So, and if you have other things you want to say, of course, so I'll open it up. Get Counselor Kemp.
By the way this is written, it sounds like the mayor needs to ask for a motion, or can I go ahead and make a motion to divide?
Mayor, Counselor, I think you can certainly make that motion. That was intended to be a roadmap.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I would like
Hold
to,
on 1 second. Let's make sure nobody else has any comments. Can I do that? Have that conversation for discussion first before you make the motion? I just want to see if anybody else has any other comments they want to make. Okay, all right, go ahead.
I would like to make a motion to divide the motion so that WHAM resolution 23-06 regarding the real estate transfer tax can be considered and voted on separately from the other WHAM resolutions.
I'll second that.
Got a second by Counselor or by Vice Mayor. Discussion.
I guess I'll go. So I am against the real estate transfer tax.
What's that?
I'm sorry, Mayor. It's that since it's a procedural motion, it's a non-debatable motion.
Oh, it's a non-debatable motion. Okay, so
we just
so
simply
strike this.
separate it.
Yeah.
So just simply, okay. So just go
And
to the
then
vote.
discussion
Okay.
can come after.
After that, okay. All right, any abstentions or nay votes? I know, right? This is like I told you of the book that I read when I was in
We're
third
making
grade.
sausage right now.
Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye, say aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote.
Counselor Pollak, can you give your? Counselor Pollak and Counselor Bond voting aye, and all others voting aye, the motion passes.
Okay. If dividing the motion, correct? That's what my next step here. Thank you. Oh, mercy. Council will now consider motion A, authorizing staff to advocate for WHAM resolution number 23-06 for the upcoming Wyoming legislative session. Now discussion.
I don't understand what this is. Is this,
So,
Is
Mayor,
that just-
Council, this would be to pass that resolution. So this is discussion to approve that resolution. And then motion B will be to approve the rest.
We separated it. Now we've got it on here to vote whether we want
so
to.
we're now just discussing the property transfer tax
That's
only, not the
Only.
rest of all the resolutions.
Yes.
Okay.
So discussion on the separation of this and whether we want to vote for it.
So I am voting no, for the property transfer tax. this is an exclusive problem to one county in the state. And although I do understand their plight, this will have a dramatic effect to the rest of the communities around the state. And so basically what this tax does is add an extra percentage. Typically, it's about 3% is what they've been talking about, to a property to sell it. And then all of that money would just go to the county and for the county to use towards whatever that they want. And then, of course, as that just increases the property amounts, which means buyers will no longer be able to, if they can't purchase now at 7.5% interest rate, they're just increasing prices and interest rate. This will absolutely decimate the real estate in most of this state. And it's not going to benefit us because the money won't be there if the real estate isn't selling.
Counselor Kathy.
I am against the property transfer tax as well. I believe it is nothing more than wealth redistribution because Teton County is talking about taking that money to build affordable housing. So all you're doing now is taxing the rich to pay for the poor. And that is not the government's job to do that. That needs to be a moral contract. It's like if you were walking down the beach and you see it and you have a sandwich and a gentleman coming up to you that looked like he's down on his luck. Hey, bud, can I help you out and give you part of my sandwich? Then that becomes a moral contract between you and the gentleman you helped. By the same token, if the government comes in and tells you you have to give half of your sandwich to that man, that is nothing but robbery. If I were to go out and do that to somebody, that is robbery. And that's all you're doing now is telling the homeowner that he has to give money to the government to help support other housing. And if you turn around and look at your government housing, look at the tenements of Chicago, Detroit, New York, all of the major cities that tried to put in public housing to help the poor and the underprivileged, they are all nothing but trash dung heaps right now. And I do not agree with this whatsoever.
Counselor Hall.
Thank you very much. I will be supporting this element of the resolution for the fact that I don't think Casper should be in a position to stand in the way of other communities being able to pass this. This, again, just changes state statute to allow individual counties to consider this for themselves. And I fundamentally believe that each county should be able to make this decision for themselves. As it exists right now, a county can't even consider if this is the right move for their county or not. So in practice, it may be correct that really this is a problem that affects one county, in which case I think that we should not stand in the way of them being able to address this issue. If it's truly not a concern here, I can't see it passing in this community, and so I don't see it impacting us negatively. So as far as I'm concerned, the further tools that we can advocate for the legislature to allow counties and municipalities to access to stabilize and sustain their own budgets, we should be advocating for that. So I'll be supporting it for the simple fact that it ultimately does not mean that Natrona County gets a real estate transfer tax or property transfer tax. It just means that we could consider it if we wanted, and other counties could do the same.
Counselor Haskins.
She stole the words right out of my mouth. My understanding is the same. I don't think Colorado should tell Wyoming what we can and cannot do, nor do I believe that Natrona has a right to tell Teton what they can and cannot do. So I support this as well. I don't suspect that this is something Natrona County will support. And my understanding is it could go down to municipalities. So even if Natrona County thought they wanted to do it, Casper could weigh in to stop that so that it wouldn't even necessarily be a countywide, but all the way down to citywide. I don't feel like we have a right to tell Teton County what they can and cannot do. If they want to rob the rich to feed the poor, that's their problem, not ours. So I will be supporting it because I don't feel like we have a right to tell them what to do.
If the county passes.
Counselor Gamroth.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I mean, to echo what Counselor Pollock and Counselor Haskins says, the way I read resolution from WHAM is not that it takes a stance for or against the real estate transfer tax. Simply, it gives the authority to potentially implement that at a more local level. And so, to reiterate what Counselor Pollock said, I don't think Natrona County should be able to tell Teton County what they can or can't do. Last I checked, median home price in Natrona County was 280,000. Median home price in Jackson Hole is 5 million. And so the point is that Wyoming is not homogeneous. Yes, we are all in the same state, but different areas of the state have very different dynamics, economic, social. There's just we're not a homogeneous state, and so I don't think we should have this kind of across the board approach to how different municipalities manage themselves. I think we should, the authority should be at the local level. And so this resolution is not for or against the real estate transfer tax. Simply, it's giving that authority to the local level and not, beholden to the state. So that's why I will be supporting it, because I believe control is best when it's local.
So I'll just weigh in real briefly. 2 points that I just want to make is, and everybody else has made that, we always talk about local control and that it's imperative about local control. We talk about that as far as from state. I think this gives local control. Do I think it would pass in most places? Probably not, just because of board tax. But what I like about it is it gives that opportunity to do that. And we're not dictating that. We always say that all the time. We just like, well, we don't tell the state, let the state let us do what we need to do to help to create revenue, to do those things. And that's what it does for us. Secondly, and to my final point, do I think it's going to get passed very far in the state legislature? Probably not. I don't think so. We know the temperature of what people feel like on taxes, but I think local control is always good, and people should have that local control to decide their municipalities decide their own fate. Councillor Bond.
Thank you, Mayor. I just a fine point, I guess, on this whole discussion is that even if the resolution passed, even if the legislature approved this measure, it's allowing counties or municipalities in the state to have some control, as you said, as the mayor mentioned about it's a revenue stream for the municipality where it's not telling them how to spend their money so much as whether or not they can even collect the tax, right? And so Teton County could choose to take their current revenue stream and channel that toward public housing. So it's not so much, I don't think, from my point of view, it's not saying how they can spend it, but whether or not they can actually collect the tax. And so that is my rationale for supporting the measure is, again, it's local control. I would want to give individual municipalities that opportunity to levy taxes as they need.
Councillor Kathy.
One more comment that I will make is you talk about local control. We do not have local control in the city of Casper. As we are seeing with trying to make the 5th cent permanent, we have to get approval of Midwest, Edgerton, bar none, Mills, or Evansville. We are the only city in the state that has suburbs. Those small individuals are controlling what the big population can control. I made this statement before. If the legislature were to pass this and hold true with passing the real estate tax and distributing it the way the 5th cent is being distributed, those municipalities could actually get that tax passed if the city of Casper did not want it, because all of those people would be looking at, oh, look at all of the sales there, and we're gonna get this based on population, and they may never have a real estate sale. That's something you need to think about by kicking this down the road to rely on the legislature to do something, when in fact you think you are trying to maintain local control. We really don't have it here in Casper. We have to rely on the entire towns of our county.
Any other discussion? All right. Any abstentions or nay votes?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. All voting aye, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Please record the vote.
Counselors Ingebretson, Kathy, and Jensen voting nay, and Counselor Pollock and Bond voting aye, and all other counselors voting aye. The motion passes.
Council will now consider motion B, which is authorizing the staff to advocate for the remainder of the WHAM resolutions for the upcoming Wyoming legislative session.
So moved.
Second.
Do I need to do a discussion? Yeah, I need a discussion period. If there is, I just need, is there any discussion? No. Okay. Any abstentions or nay votes? Okay, all voting aye, say aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote.
Pollock and Bond voting aye, and all others voting aye. The motion passes.
Thank you. Please read the consent minute action titles.
14A1, appointing one new member, Sarah Bieber, to Casper's Council of People with Disabilities for a term of 3 years beginning October 17th, 2023. 14A2, approving the purchase of 14 Motorola all-band portable radios from Motorola Solutions. 14A3, acknowledging a change in corporate ownership for Bar and Grill liquor license number 8, Marco's Coal Fired Pizza, Casper LLC, doing business as Rocca's Pizzeria, Napolitana, located at 430 South Ash Street. And 14A4, authorizing the discharge of uncollectible local assessment district liens regarding 2904 Coulter Drive, Casper, Wyoming.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent minute action agenda items just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Kathy, seconded by Councilor Haskins. Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye, say aye. Oh, sorry, sorry.
I need.
Go
I'll
ahead.
abstain from A3, please.
Any other abstentions? Okay, all voting aye, say aye.
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 Please record the vote.
Voted, and Counselor Bond voting aye, and all other counselors voting aye. The motion passes.
At this time, we ask councilors to bring forward relevant concerns or items of interest. I'll start with Councilor Kathy.
Go. Basically, if anybody caught my comment at the end of last week's work session, I did not get lucky over the last 2 days. I am still going back out to elk hunt. So I thought as a laugh, I would bring everybody up to date. Okay. The other thing, and I will bring this up, it seems that Amber might be the only one that attended the work session that all of us had to go to for the public auditor's office. I think she is the only one that has received a certificate. So I don't know where we need to go to make sure that all of those that were in attendance get their certificates.
Mr. Mayor, council will take care of it.
Appreciate that.
Betcha.
The other thing is Buck King, who is the mayor of either Edgerton or Edgerton, has resigned as mayor, and he's also resigned as the president chairman of the Joint Powers Water Board. He is in the hospital in very serious condition. I would like to see prayers go out to him for him and his family to be able to, whatever God's wishes are, that they are able to handle it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think that's all I've got.
Thank you. Counselor Haskins.
Well, you end with that. Now I don't want to talk about you getting lucky. So Fort Wyoming Center, crazy busy this last weekend. Kelly Walsh, complete and total sweep, all the captions. Go Trojans. Congratulations on the superior ratings. And this weekend, Dancing with the Stars is sold out, so should be a very good event for Mercer's House. So for those of you who are dancing, it looks like we've got a whole bunch of not-for-profits. So I'm super excited, get a little word out for all of those people, and little Elvis music should be a good time. Sorry you're not on there this year, Kyle.
I'm not.
All my meetings this month were postponed, so I'm done. That's all I have.
Counselor Pollock.
Thank you very much. I don't have much to report. Did want to add one item. Steve mentioned having trouble getting a certificate. I couldn't find mine either, and then I went back and found it attached to an email that said they would be sending it soon, which created confusion for me. I didn't search that email for the certificate because I assumed that it was forthcoming, and I went back and looked and found it there. So you may check again in your inbox. It was a very confusing communication, but I did eventually find it. Beyond that, I have a few meetings yet coming up this rest of this week, so I will report back to you all next meeting.
Thank you. Counselor Bond.
Thank you, Mayor. I just first want to say congratulations and welcome to Councillor Sutherland, and happy to be serving with you. Secondly, just a thought that occurred to me. It actually occurred to me last week, but I didn't mention it. Was as we talked about the ordinances regarding camping and so forth. What came to my mind was that as we think about the issue of unhoused individuals in Casper, and was the multi-prong approach to this issue that I think we're facing, and what brought that to my mind was the finding out that the Methodist Church on Poplar had applied for funding and got some funding to provide a day shelter program for unhoused individuals, where when those individuals could not be at their regular shelter during the daytime hours, that has been impacting our downtown area. This to me seemed like it was a very grassroots solution, and I think that just speaks to the nature of our community, is that the community wants to help out, wants to solve issues together and work together. And again, I think it's not throwing money at a problem, but it's actually creating a solution, if you will, that will give us an opportunity to find out, okay, is this a viable solution? Is this something that will actually help address the issues? So I just wanted to point that out, that it's a very multifaceted issue that's going to take the whole community to resolve, and I appreciate what the Methodist Church has been doing. So I'll be at Dancing with the Stars on Saturday, so hope to see everybody there. Come out and support Mercer House. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Counselor Sutherland.
I don't have anything tonight, but I will in the future. Thank you.
Counselor Jensen.
All right, so this past Thursday, the Special Olympics were in town, and so that was a fun event. I had the pleasure of serving lunch with the Hogan Ski School, as they volunteered to serve lunch up there. So as most people know, I'm an instructor up there as well, so that was part of our group, and I think they said that they might be taking that section over as a volunteer community service event. So but it was great. We had just about, gosh, I think every county in Wyoming was there. It was like 300 people for the Special Olympics. So it was really special to be up there too and take care of that. And it was the troopers that donated their space that we were able to serve lunch in. So, and I think because of the weather was kind of crappy and rainy and icky, the rec center helped out with that too and put a lot of the activities inside. So nice, thank you. And then the Christmas parade for the Chamber of Commerce Foundation is coming up, and that is November 25th. 6 p.m. It starts again downtown with the tree lighting at David Street Station, and then 6:30 is the kickoff to the parade. Last we just had a meeting today for that, and so we are up to 40 floats already. So pretty close. So this is the time to register. We moved into the second tier of registration fees, and so now it has been early bird is over with, and now it is regular, and it is $50 to register for your float. But if you're first responders or delegates, friends, and you are free, but you have to find your own ride. Maybe a fire truck for your kids. But yeah, now is the time to get excited. It's going to be fun and fabulous, and I can tell it's going to be another Hallmark moment.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
so if we ride the fire truck, do we get to bring our squirt guns as well?
Sure. I'm not the real maker on that one.
Oh, wrong parade. Okay, never mind.
I'm pretty sure the moms are gonna go with the no.
Counselor Gamroth.
Thank you, Mayor. Like Councilor Bond said, I wanted to congratulate Jai. Looking forward to serving with you again. I want to thank again everyone that applied. It was a tough choice, lots of good qualified applicants, and that's the way it should be. It makes it tougher for us, but I'm glad to have a good pool of qualified people. I hope that's the case next time there's a potential appointment, and I hope that's the case during the November 24 election. I would much rather have that set of circumstances than a shallow pool of folks that I'm not so thrilled about. So thank you again for everyone that applied. Heidi Graff was just promoted to lead telecommunicator with the Public Safety Communication Center. That's the call center that handles all the calls for our first responders. And so she served since 2015, and in 2020, she won Telecommunicator of the Year award. So congratulations to Heidi on your promotion and your award a couple years ago. We had a Downtown Development Authority board meeting last Wednesday. It was kind of run of the mill, pretty standard stuff. We talked about coordinating more with the Downtown Casper Business Association, which I'm excited about. I think there should be more synergy between those two groups because they have very similar missions. And so I'm looking forward to more increased collaboration and coordination between those two groups. DDA is gearing up for the ice rink and for the winter season. And so, you know, they're going to be very busy in the coming weeks, always welcoming new volunteers and donations and sponsorships for events and stuff like that. So if you're interested, please reach out to them. I'm happy to make that connection as well. And then lastly, just got an email from our in-house communications team today. Center Street underpass will be closed at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, and that's expected to last until Saturday. So as part of the I-25 reconstruction project, you will not be able to traverse Center Street under the interstate for this week. So I guess if that's a regular route of yours, just be mindful of that and don't get caught you know, driving all the way up there and then having to detour all the way around. So just something to keep in mind. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
It's gonna be hard on me for Starbucks.
We should still be able to get to Starbucks. So
Miles away. So went to the Parks and Rec last week on Thursday, and for the golf. The golf numbers aren't as great as what they have been because Mother Nature wasn't very cooperative this summer. And so now we're here for winter again. And but the restaurant did phenomenal. Although their numbers aren't as good as before, they still are pretty darn good. So I think that this coming year, they'll probably just knock that out of the park. And then I did go to the senior center today to do a presentation to a sorority group and talk about council and real estate and whatever other questions they had. So, and that is all.
Thank you. Just a couple items for me. As I had mentioned, I had the opportunity to do a swearing in of 7 new firefighters last week. It was fantastic. It was really good. I knew one of them, as a matter of fact, pretty well, and it's great to see that his whole family was there. And so it is a good opportunity to be a part of that and swear them in and do that. So I'll have some meetings this week, so I'll have more to report next week. But I just wanted to welcome Councillor Sutherland to the council, and I know the talents that she'll bring to us and to be a very good advocate for this community. So we appreciate that. Thank you again to all the people that did apply and put in continued encouragement to please continue to be involved in the community. I know you don't have to, I don't have to say that because a lot of you do, but I appreciate you and being able to do that. Carter did want me to get clarification on the BRC application and whether we wanted to do a public comment time, and I don't know if we ever really finished that. I didn't think it was. I know Kyle was hedging the fence there, but it didn't seem like there was enough support. But I just want to get clarification that nobody was open to that. I'm seeing all heads shaking except for Kyle. Go ahead.
I'm fine without adding it to our agenda. If you have thoughts, I guess it sounds like it's going to be in our packet, so that usually drops Thursday or Friday. If you are really passionate about this issue, take a peek at it over the weekend, send us emails or phone calls, and I'd be happy to bring any concerns to our discussion that evening.
Is that good for you? Thank you. Got it. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you all. The next meetings of the City Council will be a work session and a special meeting to be at 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, October 24th, and a regular council meeting to be held at 6 p.m. Tuesday, November 7th. There will not be one on the 31st because we all like to go trick-or-treating. Carter does anyway, so he will be doing that. That's why we don't have it. It's actually the 5th Tuesday of the month, so we will not have a council meeting until the 7th. A notice of the executive session, a notice of an executive session to take place at this date and during this meeting was given. We have an attorney-client privilege matter to discuss. Therefore, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn to an executive session, and at the conclusion of that executive session to reconvene this regular meeting solely for purpose of adjournment for this regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councillor Kathy, seconded by Councillor Haskin. There being a majority of councillors present and a motion to adjourn to an executive session has been moved and seconded. This motion requires a 2/3 majority of the council present. Any abstentions or nay votes? All voting aye, say aye.
Aye.
Please record the vote. A greater than 2/3 majority of the council present voted in favor of the motion, and we are hereby adjourned into an executive session. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.